WDBO. How you doing today, Larry?
We're doing fantastic, Josh. Had a little out doing some mountain biking this morning, and the bike broke, so I had to push it just about as far as I rode it. Could not fix it on the spot, so going to need a part for it. Hey, folks, it's 3 o'clock. I'm Larry Perry, and you're tuned in to the Magic Mechanic Radio Show. So new listeners know this is kind of an interactive automotive and mechanical advice program where we help you with your car problems and just about anything mechanical. And it's been our pleasure to do so for over 31 years. Me personally, I'm an automotive shop owner, and I've been a master auto technician since 1982. I've been doing this for, well, about 44 years now. To make the program work, we need your calls, and all the lines are open at 844-580-9326. And remember, all your calls and your car questions are going to be indexed and placed on our new Magic Mechanic YouTube channel. So other folks, they're maybe looking and searching for answers like yours will be able to get the same needed information. Think about that, folks. You'll be able to play your car questions back anytime you want and hear our comments and our conversation, 100 years from now. So I guess if we were all around that long, huh? Dash warning lights, maybe you got poor fuel economy, oil consumption, AC not working correctly, vibration problems, warranty questions, antique and classic car issues. And folks, I can take your questions on any of your gas, hybrid, electric, or diesel vehicles. I know that there's a lot of folks out there that, have Teslas and what they are going through with service. If it's under warranty, there's not a whole lot I can do for you. But we're dealing with this stuff on a daily basis. There's no infrastructure to repair these cars when they break, so to speak. It may take you a month or two just to get an appointment, and then they're liable to keep the car for 3 months. So these are all things you have to look forward to with these electric vehicles right now. So as they say, or Star Wars, may the force be with you. But if you have any issues, we've seen a lot of different mechanical problems with these cars. So if you got one, you're trying to get a little information, or if it's out of warranty, we can definitely help you with that as well. Also remember, I have a complete database of all your listed recalls that you may get in the mail, technical service bulletins. Technical service bulletins are things that are normally not shared with the consumers. These are things that mostly your new car dealers get. But, we are literally online with every car manufacturer. So we get every technical service bulletin that comes across. And the reason these are important is if you've got a newer car, you've beat your head against the wall, you've done everything that you know to do to try to get a problem resolved, and you've had it back to the dealer several times, maybe it's a brand new car, the last place they usually look is for the technical service bulletins. And these are things that the manufacturer has, sent out to service departments so that they can be aware of particular problems, or if there is a certain procedure that needs to be followed for diagnostics or something along those lines to aid a technician when they're trying to find a particular problem. A lot of times it's transmission shifting issues that need to be reflashed, and they may want to take it a step further. And if the technician hasn't been trained to do this and they don't know any better, the technical service bulletin is really about the only hope that they've got. But I can share all those with you if you have a late model vehicle and you've really had some issues, and you may just want to check to see if there is a technical service bulletin on a particular issue. And these really range from probably the late 70s all the way to present day. So we've got a TSB for just about everything. And also remember, for immediate help, you can call the shop number and speak to my general manager, JD, at 407-629-2661. And remember, he gets quite a few calls during the course of the program. If it rings and rings and rings and then goes into the voice thing, just leave him a message and he'll give you a call back. All right, with that being said, let's who's first up, Josh?
Coming up first, we got Daniel in St. Cloud. Got a question about his Mustang. Go ahead, Daniel.
Hey, good afternoon. I got a 98 Mustang, and I'm having a problem with the lights cutting out. I tried replacing the headlight switch, and it didn't seem to take care of the problem. When I pull the knob to put the headlights on, the headlights will come on, but the taillights won't come on. And I got to kind of play with it and get it in a certain spot to where the dash lights and tail light will come on along with the headlight. I'm wondering if you could point me in the right direction on what I should check to try and fix that.
Well, on that, there's really, on that particular vehicle, there's really no crazy, well, let me just put it like this. There's no crazy modules or anything like that. Daniel, I'm going to think, now this is the way these circuits run. They will run through the multifunction switch through your steering column. But the source of the power supply is through the headlight switch itself. And if you are messing with the headlight switch, and that is actually, just by moving it around and getting it in the right position, that's telling me you've got a worn headlight switch. That's I don't think there's really anything else. If you can get them to come on by, moving the headlight switch around and jiggling it or whatever, or getting it just in that right spot, and then they come on, I think you're dealing with just a bad headlight switch. I would definitely tell you, if it was me, I would go ahead and replace it. They're not that expensive, just a little bit of time to install them. But in this particular case, if you can get it to work by moving that headlight switch around, that's telling me that there's some bad contacts inside that switch. And being around as many years as it's been around, if it's the original part, it's probably due for a break anyway. Let's put a headlight switch in this thing, Daniel. Let's see what happens. I appreciate your call.
And let's head on over to Windermere, where Steve has a turn signal that's going crazy. How you doing today, Steve?
Pretty good. Hopefully you can help me out.
All right, what you got going on?
Yeah, again, it's a 2009 Ford Escape, and the turn signal has been giving me a problem. When you have it in the left turn position, you get no signal. When you have it in the neutral, you get a right turn, and of course, in the right side, you get a right turn. I replaced it with a new unit, and it worked for about a month, and then that one went down, so I got another one and put it in, and that one never worked at all. So every now and then it gets an occasional boost where it pops on, but I'm completely confused by this.
So you replaced the multifunction switch?
Correct.
Okay. Does everything else work? I mean, does the headlight dimmer work and everything else that's connected to it?
Windshield wipers, everything except the turn signal.
Yeah. I mean, I hate for you to feel like you're running around in circles with this, but, the thing is, it's doing something completely different than the last one that was in there was, and that's telling me that, the wiring harness that you actually had to plug the new multifunction switch into?
Yes, sir.
All right. What I would tell you to do is unplug that and look at it real close and see if maybe for some reason or other, when you plug that in, if one of those terminals in that connector actually slid back. And this happens sometimes, where you'll take something apart like that, an electrical connector, and then when you push it back in, do you remember if you had any problems when you were trying to plug them back together?
No, nothing at all. It snapped right back in the way, it came apart.
Okay. Well, look on both sides of that connector and look and see if one of those terminals in that connector itself has slid out. It being a new multifunction switch, we don't normally run into an issue like this. Usually you replace it and they're fine. I don't care who made it, whether it be an original Ford part or an aftermarket part. That's one of the things we don't seem to have too awful many problems out of. unless it's just worn out. But in your case, after you've replaced it and you're still having issues, you may have to replace it again, Steve. Who knows? It may just be a bad defective part. But usually, if it was one of my guys coming up to me and telling me the same thing that you're telling me, I would tell you to look for a terminal that's pushed out of the connector. That's usually what happens. And a lot of times, if it was hard to plug back in, connect them back together, a lot of times that's a sure sign that there was one in there that wasn't just exactly right. Sometimes these things, these terminals and these harnesses are made in China, and they're mass-produced. And what will happen is you'll get one of those terminals that wasn't locked all the way in, the plastic terminal part, and when you shove them back together, it'll push out. It may get a little connection, and it may not, and that sounds exactly what you've got going on. You see what I'm saying? Every once in a while, it may try to do something, but I think it's just a bad connection there. Pull that thing apart, take a good look at it, get a light in there, and look real close at those terminals on both ends of that connector. The one that's in the car on the regular wiring harness and the one from the multifunction switch. Take a real good look at that and give me a holler back and let me know if we done any good with it or whether you're going to have to break down and put another multifunction switch in it.
Okay. I appreciate your help. I'll let you know.
All right. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate your call.
Take care.
Thank you so much, Steve. Let's pop on over to Merritt Island where Carlo's got a question. Go ahead, Carlo.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm a 2017 Jeep Sahara Unlimited, and I just want to put a backup camera in it. Do I need to? Is there any way I can flash or just update the memory or the software of the radio?
Carlos, you don't need to. You won't need to. They make these kits for those that they actually consider them plug and play. It'll actually interface. It'll interface, and it actually goes into the harness, into the factory harness. It's like a T, so to speak. And what they'll do is the system that you get, it'll come with the camera and an interface box and the wiring that'll actually just plug right into that. If you go online and search those, you'll see that there's a bunch of different manufacturers for them, but they'll all interface with your actual screen and let you have, and that they're a little bit of a job to hook up, as you can well imagine, because you've got to have different power supplies for it, and you also have to have it tapped into your verse lights. And most of those you're going to have to, usually what we do is we'll usually have to go in and cut and do some soldering in order to get them to where we're, so nothing will happen to them long term. Anybody can go in there and put some electrical tape on it, but that's not going to do it. They need to be solid wired, or you'll cause yourself other issues. But there's some kits online. I probably wouldn't look for the cheapest. I would look for something that's got some decent reviews, probably a 4.7 or more. And just make sure that it's a good product. Don't worry about trying to save $20 on something like this. You want something that's highly reviewed, or you'll wind up with electrical issues like our previous caller did. So you want to avoid that if you can. We appreciate your call, Carl. You have a great weekend, and I wish you the best of luck with that. The thing is, if it's not a tire, there's things that you need to know that can cause this. One of them is engine cradle alignment, where you align the engine and transmission up with drive axles. If an engine mount gets weak, and what it does is it doesn't have to be broken; it can just settle downward. It can put the CV joints in a bind, and they will cause a vibration issue. So there's a lot of things there that can come into play other than just the tires when you start looking for a vibration issue. How many miles are on the vehicle?
Like 79,000.
Okay. A lot of times it wouldn't hurt. It will set some lights, and they'll have to be cleared. But a lot of times it's a good idea to maybe put it up on the rack and start it up and spin the whole drivetrain with it in gear while it's up on a rack and the tires are off the ground. That way it gives you an idea. You can actually look at drive shafts, CV joints, drive axles, and see if you've got anything that's running irregular. And you can also look and see what the drive shaft and drive axle alignment is on the vehicle as well, to see if there's anything running irregular, if it's not straight. You see what I'm saying? If anything like that is running in a bind, it will give you a vibration sensation just like a bad tire will.
But would it do it at any speed or just certain speeds?
Oh, it'll do it at all times. There's no rules for vibrations. They can do it at lower speeds, and sometimes they will get better the faster you go. Some of them you will not get until you hit like 60 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden all heck breaks loose, and then if you get faster than that or slower than that, they'll dissipate. So vibration problems like that, I'm going to be honest with you, Tony, they can really be a bear. They are very, very frustrating and hard to find sometimes. The first thing.
Larry, let me ask you this. They said that the engine mounts are going bad. They're not bad. You know what I'm saying? That they're still okay, but one's weak. They're going to need to get replaced. So I'm thinking maybe it's coming from that. Could it be coming from that?
Absolutely. See,
okay.
This is the key to it. Engine mounts are made to do a couple different things. One of them is to support the engine and transmission, and prevent and try to isolate vibrations and harmonics you get from the engine itself. But the other thing is, they have to keep drive shafts or drive axles in proper alignment. And as they wear and age, they'll sag and they'll compress and they'll throw this stuff out of alignment. And when it's not in perfect alignment and you hit these certain speeds, you get these vibrations throughout the vehicle, and they will literally drive you absolutely crazy. And everybody wants to blame it on tires. That's the first thing they blame it on. But mounts are something that I can't stress just how important it is. And now this is the other thing you're going to run into. If you're dealing with a GM dealer, that's fine. But now, when you go to buy these original GM mounts, especially for a Cadillac, you want to go with an original equipment part with these if you can get the parts. And when I say that, this is the problem we're running into. A lot of this stuff, like engine mounts and stuff like this, if you can get original equipment, you better grab them, because they are a lot better than anything else that's made out there. There's a big difference between a set of General Motors mounts and some Chinese off-the-wall brand that you've never heard of. If you put aftermarket mounts in that car, it's probably going to shake your teeth out. And everything just feels abrupt, and there's just vibrations everywhere. But if you use the GM mounts, it'll be just like it was when it was brand new. And the same thing applies to Fords, too. If you can buy the original equipment mounts, get them. But now, and even though they're going to be more money, but now this is the other scenario. So many of these things, like engine mounts, transmission mounts, they are all on national back order. The dealers don't have them. GM ain't making them, and it's just it'll drive you absolutely crazy. And sometimes you have to go with aftermarket mounts just to be able to keep driving the car, because you never know when the original equipment ones are going to be available. So if they are available and you can get them, let them slap them in there. The mounts aren't going to last forever anyway, even if that doesn't fix your problem. But if they're telling you that there's an issue with those mounts, try to go back with the original equipment GM ones if you possibly can, Tony. And then make sure you ask them about drive shaft or drive axle alignment. Because even though you got new mounts in there, that engine and transmission can be rotated and moved to get your alignment on drive axles and drive shafts. So there's an alignment procedure that needs to go along with that after the mounts are replaced. I wish you the best. They're trying to get us to break here, Tony. I appreciate your call, and I wish you the best of luck. Peter, I know you've been holding for quite a while, but we are going to keep you through the top of the hour. I don't want to rush you through, and then Josh trying to run us off. So you hang on, and we'll get to you here at the top of the hour, if you will. I'm going to take a quick email here, and this is from Rick. He's got a 2016 Jeep Wrangler with a 3.6 engine, and it has a ticking noise in the motor. And he says it's, of course, very, very common from what he hears. And the dealer is actually recommending a new engine for it. And it's got one of those notorious Pentastar 3.6 liter engines in it. It's kind of like this. The manufacturer recommends a 520 oil for those motors, and that 520 is just way too thin. And if you run it anything other than a polyalpha-olefin synthetic, it doesn't have the ability to run the heat and friction, which is, you get a lot of heat and friction and created by the rollers on the rocker arms on these engines. And normal, just regular oil runs away from them. The rollers on the rockers go bad, and if it's driven a long time like that, the rockers will knock the keepers off the valves drop, hit the piston, and you're dealing with a boat anchor, all because of the oil that you're using in those. My advice is, in this particular case, if it's ticking, need to pull the cam covers on it, inspect, and see how far the damage is. It may just need a set of rocker arms put in it, and then switch it to a strict diet of nothing but 0W30 AMSOIL Signature Series oil. Going to that 030, that's going to give you more viscosity. You're also going to have an oil that's running to heat and friction, help lubricate them rollers on those rockers, and hopefully the engine will last a ripe old age, and that's a whole lot cheaper than having to replace the engine in that vehicle. Plus, right now, you can't even get them. They're just such a back order for them that it'd be liable to be 4 months to get a 3.6 engine, so you're better off trying to take care of it with the AMSOIL 0W30. Hey, I do want to remind folks that we do older antique and classic cars as well, as work on the new stuff. But I don't want folks to be confused. It's not a situation where it's like, bring them on in. When it comes to the antique and the classic stuff, I'm usually the one that winds up having to work on them, and I can only do so many at a time. And so what we do is if you've got a project like that, that needs some mechanical restoration of sorts, what we do is I kind of put you on a list, and I let you know about what month I would be able to take the vehicle in. And then we kind of schedule around that. It's easy to get overwhelmed with these older vehicles because, parts are subjected to be kind of difficult to get sometimes, and they run into a lot of time. And, I'll try to deliver 3 or 4 of them, and then we'll take a couple more in, at a end of a month or something, and I'll go ahead and get those lined up and get the repairs done on them. But the older stuff we have to take in a little at a time. Can't overwhelm me. I can only do so many of them. Our sponsors are very important to the show. We all pitch in financially to bring you the program every week. So if you enjoy it and you need their help, please patronize our sponsors and tell them you heard about them here on the Magic Mechanic Radio Show. Orlando Auto Upholstery. Interior, convertible tops, carpet seats, cars, trucks, vans, boats. It doesn't matter if it's got an interior, a headliner, a convertible top, carpet. Maybe you need a seat repaired. A lot of people live with seats all torn up in their vehicle. Folks, you wouldn't have the couch in your living room looking like that. Goodness gracious. I mean, come on. Who wants to sit on it with a spring sticking out and foam ripped open? And here you got a vehicle that's probably good for another 5 or 6 years. I mean, why would you want to, they can fix just the side of a driver's seat, for goodness sakes. You don't have to have the whole interior done for thousands of dollars. They can actually pull the cover off. They can de-stitch it. They put a new piece back in. You can't even tell where they done it, and the interior look like it's new again. Come on, have a little class. Give them a call, 407-898-2351. AMSOIL Synthetics for your car, truck, van, SUV, boat, motorcycle, tractor, bulldozer. Folks, in most cases, if car manufacturers were to recommend AMSOIL and the proper viscosity, you would have vehicles that would be lasting 35 and 40 years. I'm not kidding you. But they don't, and until they do, I guess we'll keep telling folks different. But, if you want a vehicle to last and you don't want to be buying motors and transmissions along the way, AMSOIL is the only silver bullet there is that I know of. It's a fantastic product. It'll keep your vehicle running for as long as you want it to without it breaking the bank. Plus, AMSOIL warranties your engine against lubrication failure as long as you put it in sound equipment. You can't put AMSOIL in an engine that's wore out and say, okay, I need a new motor, AMSOIL. That ain't going to happen. But if you use AMSOIL consistently and you have an engine problem, well, you know what they do? They send it to Magic Mechanic, and we pull the motor out, we take it apart, and we find out what happened. It's that simple. They warranty your engine against any lubrication failure, providing you use their lubricant. It's that good. Plus, you use it a whole lot longer than you would normal oil. AMSOIL, we recommend go one year or every 15,000 mile. AMSOIL says you can run it 25,000 mile. Think about that. And they're still going to warranty your engine against lubrication failure. It's that good. We're a little overkill when it comes to changing it at 15,000, but I like oils to be tested before we run them longer than 15,000 mile. Not that there's anything wrong with the oil. You never know when you're going to have fuel contamination get in engine oil. So just to be on the safe side, 15,000 at Magic Mechanic, even though AMSOIL says you can go 25. To find out more, you can go to AMSOIL.com. Jasper Engines and Transmissions. If you're going to replace an engine, a fleet vehicle, maybe you want to keep a family car around, or your pickup truck on the road for another 5 or 6 years, it needs a motor or transmission. If you're going to replace one, I could show you emails of folks that go and buy a different rebuilt motor or transmission, and it is an absolute nightmare. It's the craziest things you've ever seen in your life, what these people do. And these they sell nothing but junk. I mean junk. These poor people go out here and they'll do a do-it-yourself job, put a motor and transmission in their vehicle, and they can't even get it to run out of their garage. The stuff is junk. It's mass-produced, machined out of Mexico, and they throw this stuff in there. I'm like, why in the world wouldn't they use a Jasper? But you just can't tell, folks. If you're going to spend money or a lot of effort replacing an engine and transmission in a vehicle, get one that's got an incredible warranty on it, like Jasper. It's got a 100,000-mile nationwide warranty. That's parts and labor. So you're not taking any chances after you've had these engines and transmissions replaced. They're bulletproof, and plus they're warrantied out the yang-yang. You will not have any issues if you have a problem with one of their engines or transmissions. To find out more or find out what kind of updates have been done on an engine or transmission that you need for your vehicle, go to JasperEngines.com. And last but not least, Magic Mechanic. That's my place. It's an auto service center on Lee Road in Orlando, Florida. And we do engines, transmissions, brakes, suspension, steering, electrical repairs, and, of course, AMSOIL synthetic lubricants. You can visit us at magicmechanic.com or email me directly, larry@magicmechanic.com. All right, let's kick this off. Let's get to work. Where are we going to start at here, Josh?
We're going to start with Peter for this segment. Go ahead, Peter.
Hey, Larry, how are you?
We're doing great, Peter.
I've actually brought this to your shop, and they fixed it for a minute, but I had a 2014 Honda CR-V, which is probably irrelevant. I have my key, the key fob, just, I don't know, out of nowhere, just started going crazy, and like I'd walk up to the car and it would unlock. I'd be in at work and my key would be close enough to the car. My server assistant would come out and say, "Hey man, your lights are on in your car."
Oh wow!
And I ended up sticking it. I took that key fob, I stuck it in a Mylar bag, and I took my spare key. I've had to jump this car 3 times in 5 days.
I took my spare key, and now everything works perfectly. But now I'm afraid to take that key fob out of the bag, even to go take it to you to get it replaced. I don't know, and I always like to have a backup.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you. Now, is this a separate key fob, or is it actually integrated into the key itself?
No, it's integrated into the key.
Okay. Well, I mean, I would suggest just programming in a new key, and destroying that thing. Wrap it up.
Yeah, well, I'm going to bring it to you no matter what. So
it's
just one of those things.
Yeah, let's
probably order that from JD, right? And
Let's just order a new key fob for it, and then once we get it, there's a programming procedure that we have to do in order to program that. But in the meantime, do not lose that key you got, because we're going to need that in order to get the information off of it in order to program the new one. So, yeah.
All right. I just wonder, do they get magnetized or never got wet or anything? I just wonder how on earth that thing just got a mind of its own.
Well, yeah, it's got a daggone a circuit board inside of it. Just like a computer system. I mean, it literally has. If it shorts out, it can emit the radio frequencies at the wrong time, unintended. I mean, it can do all kinds of crazy stuff. So, it's not normal they do that, but you've already proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that is your problem just by, keeping it away from the vehicle. But, when you get one like that, I mean, causing, the alarms to activate and everything else in the car to stay up and running, even when you shut the vehicle off, and killing your battery. Now, you've definitely got a problem with it. But just give us a ring, Peter, and JD will get you one ordered up. And as soon as we get our hands on it, we'll have you come in. We'll go ahead and program that one to the car, and you should be off to the races. I do appreciate you hanging on as long as you did, and I'll tell JD to take extra good care of you. How's that?
Thanks for that. See you.
All right.
Well, right now, let's go ahead and talk to Ellen. Ellen is calling from Kissimmee. Go ahead, Ellen.
Hi, I'm calling about our 2015 Ram. When we turn it on to start it up, an indicator comes up on the dash that says the right rear brake light is out, but when you walk around the vehicle and you test the brake light, all the lights work on the back.
Okay. Sometimes if you've got an issue like that, Ellen, it's possible that there may have been some condensation that has actually maybe gotten into the taillight itself. Have you all removed the taillight and maybe moved it around to see if there was any moisture inside of it?
No, because when we went to, of course, you access it from the inside, and when we went to do that, the bulb is an unusual assembly, and in looking at the book, it says it's an LED that has to be serviced by an authorized dealer.
Yeah,
I know.
Okay, well then what it is? See, those come two different ways. The base models of those come with pretty much some replaceable bulbs. The premiums come with the LEDs. Were you physically able to remove the bulb?
No.
Okay. If it's integrated, then the taillight assembly would actually need to be replaced on that.
That sounds pricey.
Well, it's not that bad. I mean, I think they're usually $200-300. I mean, for a tail lamp, but it's what we deal with nowadays, Ellen. Let me just give you an example.
Yeah, I know.
Let me give you an example. If we needed to replace a headlight assembly in a late model Lexus, it's $3,000. If I need to replace a headlight on my pickup truck, well, the headlight I think is $1,300. And see, these things they don't have replaceable bulbs in them anymore. So I guess the manufacturers figured, they didn't want us to have a cheap way out if we couldn't see where we were going. So much for selling inexpensive replaceable bulbs, But that's what we're dealing. That's what we're dealing with nowadays. Is stuff like that. If you want, I can check and see what kind of what's available in the aftermarket. And see if we can get a tail lamp for it and see if we can. Go ahead.
I guess my gut feeling was, even though it says it's not working, since it is working, as long as it's working, to just go forward.
Yeah. But just it's something where I'd tell you to keep an eye on it, because you never know when you got an indication like that saying something's wrong, even though it's working. But I would use it and just keep an eye on it. Hopefully, if it does act up, you'll catch it before the highway patrol does.
Yeah, that would be good.
Hey, Ellen, you have a great weekend.
All right, thank you.
All righty. Let's go ahead and do that right now. Here comes number one.
This is Maria. Was listening on the radio, but I missed the number to the auto upholstery place. If you could please repeat the number, please. Thank you.
Okay, I've got it right here in front of me. All right, Orlando Auto Upholstery. You can visit them at orlandoautoupholstery.com or give them a call at 407-898-2351. Make sure you tell them you heard about them on the Magic Mechanic Radio Show.
Thank you very much. Here comes number two.
Hello, my name is Freddie Flandero, and I have been working hard on my dream car, a 64 Chevy. But when I showed it to my good friend, producer Ron from WDBO, he took one look and said, "Oh my God, the interior looks like it was mauled by a grizzly bear. You should call El Mechanica Magico Larry Perry." So, Senor Perry, who do you recommend to undo what this grizzly has done to my baby?
Well, once again, I think what we'll do is we're going to refer you to Orlando Auto Upholstery. You can visit them at orlandoautoupholstery.com, and their phone number, again, is 407-898-2351. And good luck with your 64 Chevy there.
That's fantastic. All right, coming up next in the Open Mic Roundup.
This is Mike in Port St. John. We bought our son a 2022 Kia K5 to GT line. Has the 1.6 turbocharged motor. Is it a good car? After the break-in, we're going to switch to AMSOIL. Thank you.
Well, it's like this. I mean, Kia, Hyundai, and even Mitsubishi, they all use pretty much the same engines across the board. And over the last 10 years, because of the oils they've recommended to lubricate these engines with, they've just about recalled everything that they've ever built. Just mass engine problems. National Highway Safety Traffic Administration has actually made them recall all these motors because of fires. They sling a rod out of the bottom of the engine, and hot oil gets all over the exhaust system and the catalytic converter at 900 degrees, and they burst into flames. So that's kind of their history. Now, this being a new vehicle, the bottom line is, being a turbo car, the engine runs hot, the oil gets a heck of a workout. You have to stay away from 20-weight oils. I haven't had a chance to look up what the recommended viscosity is for that car, but in order for it to have a prayer, put about 3,000 miles on it. You want to switch to the AMSOIL, but I'm going to tell you, with a turbo car like that, I would probably recommend to go with like a 5W30. Now, a lot of these newer cars that Kia and Hyundai are coming out with, they're finally getting away from this 20-weight oil. the Palisades and the Tellurides, they're recommending 530 for these, where before it was all 20 weight everything. So I think they're actually starting to learn from their mistakes, but it's costed them dearly. Let's put it that way. You don't want to try to lubricate an engine of any kind here in Florida with 20 weight oil. It's just ridiculous. And then here you've got Toyota out here putting 16 weight in these things. Hey, a car company that's got such a dependable line of vehicles, and they want to just ruin it by putting too thin of an oil in an engine, and it's going to wind up costing consumers. For engines is what it's going to wind up doing. But if you take it into the dealer, they're going to put this thin stuff in there that the manufacturer recommends. You're going to have to take note and make sure that you're getting a good viscosity oil in these vehicles, or you're just going to wind up as a casualty, is basically what's going to happen. But on that one there, probably go with a 530 after about 3,000 miles, and that's the Amsoil Signature Series oil. They make some cheaper oils, but you want to use the Signature Series. That's pretty much all we sell at Magic Mechanic, and I do not sell any 20 weights for any vehicle, period. If you want that crap put in your vehicle, you're going to take it somewhere besides Magic Mechanic. And I'll wish you luck with it, and I'll tell you where you can get a good replacement engine when you need one. How's that? But good luck with that new car. We'll all keep our fingers crossed for you.
Thank you much. Let's go ahead and down the line, knock out the next open mic. Here it is.
Hi, Larry. Andy calling from Wisconsin. Which way would you put an oil seal? Spring towards the bearing or away from the bearing? Thanks.
Now, see, this is a trick question because it depends on the application. A grease seal, the actual spring part should go towards the bearing, okay? Unless we are talking about something that is being submerged in, like, water. In that case, you would have usually two seals. One, the spring will go towards the bearing, and then the other one would face the opposite direction to keep impurities in water from actually getting to the oil seal. So the seals can be in different directions, but in your case, if it is an oil seal for a vehicle, an engine, a grease seal for a wheel or something like that, the spring part will always go towards the bearing itself. But that could be that could go a couple different ways depending on the application. There's even some great big huge trucks, 1.5 ton, 2-ton trucks that could actually have two seals in them, and they also use a seal that faces the opposite direction. So, but those are applications that use two seals as opposed to one. If it's just one seal and it's an automotive application, the spring part will always go towards the bearing. Hope that helps you.
Thank you very much. Let's wrap up this open mic roundup with our very final submission.
Hey, Larry, that lady with the 15 Ram rear taillight signal out, mine does the same thing. It's actually the light that is on the left driver's mirror assembly is not working properly, but it signals as the rear taillight assembly. That's my info for today. Thank you.
Hey, I appreciate that. I hope she was still listening, and I will take that under advisement. And the next one of those we get in, we'll take a look and see if that is what's actually causing the problem. I'm sure she'll be happy to hear that she doesn't have to replace the taillight assembly on that truck. Hey, thanks for your open mics, folks.
All righty, let's head on over to Robert in Ocala. He's got a question about his 2013 Dodge Avenger. Go ahead, Robert.
Oh, yes. I'm wondering when I should change the power steering fluid on that car, if it needs to be changed. And I think it has a rack and pinion steering, and also what kind of fluid it would take. And I won't do the job myself. I'll take it to the shop. But what is the procedure for doing that?
Robert, are you having any steering problems at all?
No, I'm not. But I did have a shop mention I might need a steering rack soon, but another shop fixed a problem. I think it was a rattling problem because of a rattle problem, but another shop took care of the rattle problem, and it was something much more simple than a steering rack.
Sometimes it just depends on. There's a big difference in automotive shops. I'm just telling you. If you go to a shop that's got a lot of talent in it, it usually results in what you just dealt with, as opposed to shop number one. You know what I'm saying? It really is. It depends. I'm telling you. And right now there's a shortage of 647,000 automotive technicians nationwide. Can you imagine that? 647,000. There's not many of us left, especially ones that can actually fix your car. Think about that. In your case, let me tell you what you can do. If you're not having any steering problems with it, if you've got something that you could pull that fluid out of the reservoir with, you could do this yourself. I want to say you could use a turkey baster, but you need something that will draw a vacuum and actually suck the fluid out of the power steering reservoir. I don't know if you've got something that you could suck it back out of there with. If you know what to do, I mean, you could. There's a couple different devices you can use. I use a turkey baster as an example. You squeeze the bulb and just let it draw the fluid out. I'm just thinking of something you'd have around your home. But if you were to suck all the fluid out of the power steering reservoir and then just put new fluid in it, and AMSOIL does make a power steering fluid, a synthetic one, which is incredible. If you were to do that and then drive the car and then come back and maybe do it again a week or so later, that would get you the potency of that fluid would probably be about 75% brand new fluid. And that little that was left over in there, it wouldn't matter anyway, because the strength and the fortification that you just did by maybe sucking that fluid out of the reservoir and replacing it a couple times, that's going to get it to the point of you could take it to a shop and we could charge you to do a power steering flush. But if there's nothing wrong with the system right now and there's no debris that we're really worried about trying to chase out of the system, I would do that. It'd save you probably maybe even a couple $100. And that way you'll get that system back up and, with all new fluid in it. And it'll make it steer better, make the steering rack last longer. That's the other thing, too. See, if you use the AMSOIL fluid, that's going to refortify the seals in that steering rack. And they probably will never leak on you, and the thing will steer great. But try that. If you need to take it in somewhere to have it done, so be it. But if you've got something that you can suck that fluid in the reservoir out, put the new fluid in, drive it for a week or so, and then do the same thing again with another pint of fluid, you'll probably have that system as clean as anybody could ever do it. And it'd probably be a whole lot cheaper to do it that way than take it into a shop to have it done. Robert, I hope that helps you. Maybe we saved you a little bit of money there.